Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Efrem Graham. Ahead today, we're going to take you behind the historic protest in Iran to learn why this uprising is different from those in the past. And we're going to hear how the gospel is spreading in Iran and reaching more and more people. Here at home, a battle over abortion inside the Republican Party. We're going to hear what's behind it and what both sides are saying. And more on the pastor imprisoned in South Korea. Some say it is a battle over religious freedom that believers around the world need to be aware of. All those stories and more right now on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Thursday, the 8th of January. We want to begin this half hour in Iran. Historic protests and strikes swept the nation once again. Dozens of lives have been lost at the hands of government security forces. Iran's judicial and military leaders are accusing the U.S. and Israel of fueling the chaos. The chief judge is making it clear, no mercy for those accused of helping the enemy. Yet even amid the unrest and violence, the gospel continues to spread across Iran. This week on CBN's program, The Global Lane, Hormoz Shariat of Iran Alive Ministries joins us to share how the protests are different from those of the past, and he tells us how Iran's Christians are holding up.
We are in touch with the people of Iran as a 24/7 broadcast. We go over the heads of the mullahs into people's homes and they respond to us. So we are daily in touch with the people of Iran. And I see a new hope in the people of Iran. But you're asking about the government. The government of Iran is very fearful. The side of the fear has changed. People used to be afraid of the government. Now, the government is afraid of the people. And with what happened in Venezuela and what Trump said, that if you attack, if you kill the people, I will come to the rescue, the leadership in Iran is very afraid, even more afraid, because they attacked the army commanders in June, in the war, they attacked Iran. So when Trump says, I will defend them, it could mean that for the first time ever, he will attack the clerics. Not even one cleric has been killed over all these years.
Yes, he could have done it back in June, and he did not. He wanted to spare his life. So these anti-government protests are not subsiding. Police have arrested nearly 1,000 people. At least 16 have been killed. What makes this unrest different this time, Hormoz, from what we've seen in Iran in recent years?
There are a couple of differences. One is that the motivation for these protests, it used to be for freedom. We want more freedom. We don't want the covering. But this one is not for freedom. It's for bread. They're not saying, where is my vote? They're saying, where is my bread? And the economy is the main motivation for such a large number of people coming on the streets. They have problem with bread, water, you know about water, electricity, medicine. That's just heartbreaking. When a family, their loved one is dying and they can't afford a $30, $40 medicine that can save their loved one and they die. So this is all has put together a motivation that's different than before. So one is motivation. Another difference is that for the first time they're united, and they're united around Prince Pahlavi. The last uprising, there was separation. There were many factions, and they did not come together. The opposition did not come to peace with each other. They did not unite. But right now, no matter who, people of Iran are choosing him as the center of unity. Those who were against him, I had people who were against Shah, against the Prince Pahlavi just a few months ago, and they are saying, I'm with him because there is no other choice. So this is different today. And after many years of hopelessness, for the first time in many years, the people of Iran are hopeful.
Let's talk about the hope that Christ gives. How's the government responding against Christians and unregistered churches? Are we seeing a crackdown amid the unrest?
Crackdown on Christians has started this year. Last year, many Christians were arrested. And if this government survives, you can expect a new wave of persecution of Christians. Not just Christians, any group that they feel are the opposition. As you remember, last year, they invaded people's homes. They arrested thousands of people. They killed a few hundred, but they arrested thousands, and they executed Iran #1 in execution. They executed an average of 5 people per day last year, 2024. So if this government survives, you can expect a new wave of persecution on Christians and other groups.
Well, still, many Muslims are coming to Christ in Iran through dreams and visions and television programs like yours. So tell us the latest.
Awesome. You know, every year, we have been on the air for 25 years. We use satellite television, not just for evangelism, for underground church planting, for training, leadership training. But I've never seen Iran this open. And every year, Gary, every year, I said, things in Iran cannot get any worse. And then it does. Then spiritually, I say, this cannot get any better. People in Iran are so open to the gospel. And then it gets better. If you look at the number of salvation, if you look at our curve of number of people who have come to salvation, it starts small 25 years ago, but it's growing exponentially. It's amazing. The curve jumping. The number of people coming to Christ is growing exponentially.
And quickly, how should we pray for them?
Pray for wisdom and protection. One message I give them is the valuable thing is your life. Don't give it away that easy. Spend your life, spend your time wisely. They were not wise 3 years ago when they went on streets and 1,500 of them were killed in 2 days. Now the people of Iran wise, and we are telling them, go be wise. Also, we are mobilizing many, many Christians. We are telling them, pray for Iran, go out on streets, help people. Your message is love, faith, hope. Receive it and give it to the people of Iran.
Okay, Hormoz Shariat, founder and president of Iran Alive Ministries. Thank you for joining us. God bless you.
Thank you.
And our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joining us now to continue our coverage. He's joining us from Jerusalem. So, Chris, what have you heard about the ongoing revival in Iran?
Well, Gary's interview just expressed a lot of what's happening there in Iran. It's quiet, but it's powerful. It's an underground revival. You know, many ministries like the Ministries working with Iranian believers. There are others, Open Doors, Transform Iran, many house church networks. It's a deeply spiritual movement, despite the intense persecution by the regime. These are converts from Islam. They often meet in secret house churches, small fellowship gatherings, and online disciple groups. They often meet in homes, living rooms, basements, or virtually for safety. I heard an anecdote at one time. Sometimes they gather together as if they're having a birthday party. That way, if the police come in, they can say it's simply a birthday party, not necessarily a church group. And often marked by dreams, visions, personal encounters, literally supernatural experiences, Ephraim, dreams of Jesus. And this is drawing Iranians to the Lord in places where the gospel has been forbidden for years.
Christian ministries are in contact with believers in Iran. What are they saying?
Well, they're saying that that it's very difficult for Christians, especially after the last 12-day war in June. They're blaming Christians and the Zionists. And so Christians are considered a threat to national security, and that's why it's so dangerous for them. They can be executed for changing their religion from Islam. So that's why it's so important, Ephraim, right now to be praying for the Iranian believers, especially during these protests, and as Hormoz said, for them to be wise during these very dangerous days, and that they could be really used by the Lord for such a time as this, at this critical time in Iran's history.
We've been reporting on the protest. What's the latest?
Well, the number of dead has doubled in the past few days. The protests have spread to most of Iran's 31 provinces. There's a nationwide operation against the protest leaders, and they're blaming foreign involvement. They're having forced televised confessions. So the crackdowns, though, are backfiring in many ways. The biggest demonstrations right now are in central Tehran. And Ephraim, I think it's just important to realize that this really could be a historic change for the people of Iran, something that people have prayed for ever since the Islamic Revolution in 1979 that brought this repressive, tyrannical regime on the Iranian people. And we could be seeing a change, not only Iran, but the effects of that, the consequences could ripple certainly throughout the Middle East. And it's also something potentially that people are hoping that it could be the revival of what some people call the Cyrus Accords, where this ancient relationship between the people of Persia and the Jewish people, could be revived, sort of like the Abraham Accord. So we're living, in historic times. And as Hormoz was saying, the differences are this in these protests is that it's led by the economy. People are protesting the economic conditions, and they're rallying around Reza Pahlavi, and this could be a dramatic change for the people of Iran.
Indeed. The Crown Prince of Iran has issued a warning to the protesters. What's he saying?
Well, he's warning that the regime is shutting down the internet, and it's a signal the start of even harsher crackdowns. He warns that the regime cutting off this could, although he says it could further energize the protest movement, he's saying if the regime commits this mistake, cuts off the internet, it would continue, that the protests will even grow even bigger. And he said that shutting down the internet is what the regime has done in the past. They did it in 2019, 2022. And Pahlavi is saying in his message to the people that you will be victorious, long live Iran. He's actively encouraging all these protests. He's also calling for coordinated actions at specific times that would have an even greater impact. And also he's appealing directly to the security forces to side with the people and turn their backs on a corrupt and a repressive regime.
There's talk of President Trump helping the protesters. What are people saying?
Well, that he could do a number of things. First of all, he could back Israeli covert operations. He could use the U.S. Cyber capabilities to degrade the regime's repressive apparatus and really neutralize what the opposition can do. That would level the battlefield for unarmed civilians facing an unarmed regime. And he could incentivize, encourage defections by the regime, and then provide those secure communications and allow Iranians to communicate so they can mobilize. And also what they could do, Ephraim, he could intensify diplomatic and economic pressure, all in an attempt to bring down this regime that has ruled Iran since 1979.
All right, Chris Mitchell from Jerusalem, thanks as always for your insights. Stay safe and know that we here are praying for you and our entire team there in Israel. A programming note to pass along. We've got other stories for you also on this week's Global Lane. Oil for the U.S. and keeping the hemisphere safe from America's adversaries. A look at President Trump's new mandate for Venezuela. And Zohran Mamdani's executive order in New York City. Is it anti-Semitic or anti-Israel? We'll take a look. You can watch that this evening on the CBN News channel. It begins at 8 Eastern. You can also watch it on the CBN News app, and it's available on YouTube as well. Coming up here at home, a political battle among Republicans over abortion. We're going to hear what President Donald Trump is saying about a possible compromise on taxpayer funds for abortion, and how pro-lifers are responding. We've got that story for you when we come back. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. The Trump administration is encouraging the Republican Party to think about what many consider the unthinkable, allowing taxpayer dollars to fund abortion. The president said it might be necessary to strike a health care deal. As CBN's medical reporter Lori Johnson reports, pro-life groups are pushing back on that idea.
For nearly 50 years, the Hyde Amendment has prohibited federal tax dollars from being used to pay for most abortions. Now, congressional Democrats demand lifting it in order to get a health care deal passed. This week, President Trump told fellow Republicans it may be the only way to get his health care plan passed.
Now, you have to be a little flexible on Hyde. You know that. You got to be a little flexible. You got to work something. You got to use ingenuity. You got to work. We're all big fans of everything, but you got to be flexible. You have to have flexibility.
That's a stark reversal from 1 year ago. Just days after being sworn into his second term, the president signed an executive order calling for greater enforcement of the amendment.
Just 1 year ago, we were honored to see President Trump shoring up, calling for high protections. He needs to go back to a year and review his remarks.
It's a red line for most pro-lifers.
Since 1976, the first time we saw Hyde attached to a congressional spending resolution, it has been estimated from researchers that over 2 million children have been saved. They've been spared the death by abortion.
A Republican backtrack on Hyde could hurt them in the midterms.
Republican officials cannot win their races in November if they abandon their pro-life base. Had 1 to 2% of pro-life voters stayed home in 2024, Trump would not be president right now. We would have Kamala Harris in the White House.
And while failing to negotiate a health care deal could mean another government shutdown, some lawmakers would prefer that to seeing public funding for abortion.
I think we've seen really great leadership from Speaker Mike Johnson, from Leader John Thune, in saying that no Hyde, no deal, essentially all throughout this process.
Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Still ahead, as a pastor in South Korea is being held in prison, his son is speaking out about his case and how believers around the world can be praying for him. We're going to hear from the pastor's son when we come back. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. We've been following the case of a South Korean pastor who's been held by authorities reportedly on minor charges involving election law, but some believe he was imprisoned for other reasons after he opposed what law critics say to criminalize preaching against homosexuality and restrict religious speech. The case recently gained more attention when his son Chance spoke in Arizona at Turning Point USA's AmFest event. Asia correspondent Lucille Toulousan spoke with him following that appearance.
Overwhelming. That's how Chan's son described his experience at AmFest, where he spoke about his father's case. Pastor Hyun-Bo Son remains jailed in South Korea on election law charges and has drawn attention from the Korean administration for his stance on biblical truths.
So firstly, I would like to thank CBN News for covering my father's news when it was mostly needed. And that's when I believe a lot of Christians in the States especially starting to pick up my father's story. I think this is a great opportunity for Americans themselves to be able to realize what's at stake and what we are to do as brothers and sisters in Christ.
As a show of support, the organization Advocates for Faith and Freedom has launched a petition for a fair legal process in Pastor Son's case. Support from Americans is also growing. That includes the late Charlie Kirk, who met Pastor Son in Seoul at a conference.
My father was able to share what's happening in Korea recently, especially to the Christian leaders, including himself, and also the possibility that my father could get arrested. And in fact, my father got arrested 2 days after he met Charlie. Charlie made sure that he will use his platform and his voice to let the whole world and America know that this is happening in South Korea. And this was important for him because it was an example what would happen if we don't speak for biblical truth. 2 days after my father got arrested, Charlie got assassinated.
Although Charlie is gone, his vow to support Pastor Son was still fulfilled.
Chance, how would you like for us Christians around the world to pray for your father's case and also for your family?
Yeah, first, for my father's case, for the fairness in the legal process, for my family and myself, knowing that God has already won the battle, for the faithfulness to keep fighting the fight with strength.
A final verdict in Pastor Son's case is set for January 30. Son says his father could be released, but warns the government could detain him again as he faces 16 ongoing lawsuits and potential additional charges. Lucille Toulousan, CBN News.
You can sign the petition urging the United States to take action on behalf of Pastor Son and religious liberty in South Korea. You can find it at cbnnews.com. We're right back with an encouraging word for your Thursday. Stay with us. Time now for your Thursday Thankful, and today I invite you to join me in this prayer of gratitude. God, thank you for a new day. It is a new day to bring honor to you, a new day to put feet to my faith, and a new day to be your hands on earth. To that prayer, may we all say amen, and may we all work to bring meaning to what we say. May this be a thankful Thursday indeed. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel. You can find them there at any time as well as online, cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can reach out and touch us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. We look forward to seeing you right back here, same time tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye, God bless, and make it a thankful Thursday indeed.